Hello and welcome to Between the Pop Culture and the Canon. And I'm delighted that over the next 16 minutes or so, we'll be joined by...
20, Leo.
20 minutes.
No, 16. That's changing all the time.
We'll keep the conversation going afterwards in any case. But today we're joined by a mission-driven philanthropist, the director of a major national institution and an acclaimed artist. Omenaa Mensah is the architect of Top Charity, Europe's leading art business and philanthropy initiative, as well as the founder of the Omenaa Art Foundation, and many more things. And if you're in Warsaw, please do go to Wilanów Palace, where you will see the amazing exhibition, and you have a taster of that here today at Impact itself. Boris Kudlička is the general director of Teatr Wielki, the Polish National Opera, where currently is staged Androids, a ballet about what it means to be human in the age of AI. And Curtis Holder is an artist who won the TV talent show Portrait Artist of the Year and is now represented in national institutions across the UK. So all three of our guests this evening have come to their positions from slightly unusual and different routes, which I think will give us a really exciting discussion today. And we'll dive straight in with the first question, which is the heart of what this panel is about. Who decides what art is? So we have this complex ecosystem of the art world with institutions, with artists, with philanthropists, educators, schools, the wider public, and of course, art exists beyond that. So who makes these decisions and what are they? And I'd like to come to you first, Boris, as the director of a national institution. Who decides what art is?
Well, for me, I would a little bit turn it upside down, and I ask who the artists are and what they are doing and what are their responsibilities in nowadays society. Because then we can judge it and then we can define what are the definitions of the art. But for me, artists are humans searching for the truth, emotional, existential, and symbolical. It's a deep research into current subjects we are living around, and the artist has this special sensitivity, a third eye, going under the skin and seeing much further. So I'm always asking, what is the role of the artist in the society? And I have no doubt that, especially today, artists and the art field is absolutely a necessary element for our societies to stop, to look, to understand, to hear. And that's what I'm trying to do also with our institution, one of the biggest cultural institutions in Poland, one of the biggest opera houses and ballet houses in Europe, is to learn the sensitivity, responsibility, and to bring the emotions that mirrors our society.
So the artist is critical, really. Omenaa, do you agree? Is the artist the person who decides what art is?
So my answer will be very simple. In my opinion, at the end of the story, audience is deciding what art is. But, referring to your answer, Boris, audience have to have right access, right context in terms of bringing art to their life. So if they have enough information and they have access, they can see, inspired by the art, they can judge. So they can say, yes, this is art or not. Audience.
So the artist, the audience. Curtis, you are an artist. Do you decide what art is?
I'm an artist. Of course, I'm going to agree with my two panelists, because quite frankly, I'm the person that decides what art is. I make the work. I decide whether it leaves my studio and has a life outside of my studio, or I decide whether it goes into the shredder. So primarily, I am the first port of call. And I do agree with many of the things that my fellow panelists have said. But yeah, I think the book starts with me and what I feel I want to let out into the world and what I feel comfortable letting out into the world.
I want to add something more, because I think this is very important, yeah? All the ecosystem, as you mentioned at the beginning, the museum, the institutions, art collectors, curators, artists, of course, this is the ecosystem.
Yes.
And that ecosystem needs to make art more accessible. So, and after that, audience can judge.
No, it's true, yeah.
And what about the responsibility of the institution? Boris, where does that lie in this question of who decides what art is?
Well, it is enormous responsibility being a national institution holding two big ensembles, opera and the ballet. It is about a proper program and inviting interesting artists with an interesting vision that are sensitive, that can really touch the sensitive points of our society, of reality that surrounds our world. We are trying to have different varieties of optics and people who have different ways of metaphors, who can bring an interesting story. And I think answering a little bit your first question, what a good art is or how we judge it, it has to have a great storytelling. It has to be emotional. It has to move us on a big level, on a very symbolic or abstract level. If it's good, if it has a core, it is an art that really hits you, your soul.
Yeah, and I can understand exactly the weight of responsibility of an institution to deliver that curation of the storytelling of the artist. But what about, if we move on to the second question, the media and pop culture? How does that shape this thing that we call the canon of art? So we have media, we have brands, we have celebrities, all of whom, when they make a decision about art or choose to promote it, it reaches a wide audience. Omenaa, what role does pop culture have?
I think that the pop culture comes first. Pop culture creates visibility, and visibility brings canon. But of course, canon should be created on, I think, three pillars: education, context, and history. Because whenever we think about the art, always is the story behind. And that was the day when it has started. So we have to implement it to the work of art. So I think the pop culture brings visibility, first of all, yeah. And it is a very important part of our lives. If I am thinking about the pop culture, I should think about the very influential also people, like, for example, Jay-Z, Beyoncé, and other big names who are art collectors, yeah. So this ecosystem, we all need these all elements, yeah, to make art much more visible and to create new canon.
And you mentioned the word context as well, and I know that some of the work you do is beyond the museum, beyond the gallery. Tell us a little bit about why you do that.
So in terms of the pop culture and the context is very important because, as we mentioned, making art more accessible, it's bring people to the place where they can experience art. Yeah. So what we are doing with my foundation, we are launching every year before our main initiative, open exhibition, where we present international artists and African artists. Why African artists? Because in Poland we didn't have opportunity for last hundreds of years to experience African art. So I'm trying to bring African artists here to Poland to make it more accessible, because after that when you have varieties of the art, you can judge. And what we are doing, we are trying to build the bridges between Polish artists, European artists, international artists, and African artists. The access to the exhibition is for free. All the beautiful exhibition is presented in the historical structure. It's a historical orangery in Warsaw. So people can come, can see the beautiful historical palazzo, learn about the history of the Poland, but on the other hand, can come to the orangery and see and experience contemporary international art. So this is how we are trying to do it.
So context is crucial, really. Coming back to the media point, Curtis, you rose to fame through the media. How important is the role of the media?
Well, for me, it was vital. It links in with what you were saying. And without pop culture, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now. The work that I produce is linked to a wider story. I strive to tell the stories of people who feel they are invisible. My drawings are about a story that's way bigger than me, and I need my work to be seen, not just by people who want to acquire it, but by every person who feels that they have a voice that is not being heard. And the show that I won gave me a platform. It gave me a platform that the canon wouldn't allow me to have. So it then meant that, bringing it back to the first question, who chose the art then? Well, it was the public. The public decided they wanted to see more of me. And then the galleries followed. But it is a tightrope. And yes, pop culture is crucial, but also timing is crucial, which is something that you really take note of. And I think where we are now, people are ready to listen and are hungry for a different kind of view of the world, a different funnel to get their art from. And the program that I won, timing was crucial because it happened during lockdown, a time where people were hungry for creativity to help them survive a very difficult situation.
Yeah, and today the world continues to change at pace, and we have things like AI, and Boris, you have programmed this ballet, Androids. How important is pop culture and the shifting world outside the art to these decisions?
I would put it and underline very clearly that the opera and ballet always were entertainment. They always entertained, and they always had a clear function in the society. But here we have to be very careful, because from one hand, the canon can't be museum, because canon is evoluting, and also time is filtering, and sometimes it resonates higher, sometimes it becomes unactual. But from another hand, the culture can't be driven by algorithms, and here we have to be careful. And this is the position of a national institution, where we have to educate, and where the education in terms of, and here we are very strong, because we are covering all the fields of the art. It's a music, it's a dance, it's a visual art, it's a technology, it's a word, it's a meaning, metaphor. And I think that here it's very important in nowadays flattening society is to understand. And I think here we have another challenge. We talk a lot. I mean, our society talks a lot, we are scrolling, it goes very fast. But we not always understand. And I think this is one of our roles as a national institution.
So coming to the final question, and we've got just less than 3 minutes. So these are your final words for this discussion. Are we ready for a new canon? And what does that look like? Curtis, I'll come to you first.
Oh, we've only got a few minutes.
A few seconds.
Few seconds. I would say then yes, I think we are ready for a new canon. I think that without more streams into a pool that the institutions can sift from and look at, the better. I think I agree with you, yes. I think there's a time for reflection, there's a time to stop and examine and really understand what we're looking at. However, I do feel that more voices need to, different voices need to be present at that table. And I think pop culture is an excellent way of bringing those different voices to a table that sometimes is stifled by the same stuff.
Boris, when Timothée Chalamet says no one cares about ballet, what do you say?
He couldn't make a better job for the opera and the ballet, because it was a fantastic, I mean, the major opera houses had a rise of the ticket sale of, I think, 100%. So Well, the pop culture, we very often use it. Opera and ballet is a very modern genre. We are inspired by the pop culture, by the photography, technology, really fashion, and all is digested and transformed into the piece that tells the story. So we are definitely part of this process, lifting it up to something that touches our society.
And Omenaa, the final words to you. I can't believe I'm asking, are you ready?
What can I say? As a mission-driven collector, trying to redefine the role of art, creative industry, and the luxury good in generating social impact, I must say that canon cannot be local. Canon should be global. So that's why we all need to be open for new. And we should all be open to bring to the opera something totally new and to the world of art. Yeah? And also confrontation with the history is, I think, very crucial because we cannot forget from where we are. So that's my last word. Canon should be global.
And magically, you've made 1 more minute appear on the clock.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to leave it open for anyone who wants to jump in for the final word. Curtis, tell us the story of the boy in the National Portrait Gallery.
I've got a story. This, I think, sums up everything, really. Because I am pop culture born, but I am now in the National Portrait Gallery, I was having a meeting with a curator at the National Portrait Gallery. She asked me to come and see my new work being hung. And we went into the gallery. There was a group of school children. And I used to be a teacher as well. I used to be a primary school teacher. And ironically, they'd been asked to recreate a work of art, one that they saw and one that they felt drawn to. And obviously, most of them were circled around a very bright Hockney. God bless him. But to the left of the Hockney was my piece. It's quiet, it's a drawing, and there was sat in front of that drawing one black boy. It could have been me. And he was drawing this, copying this drawing that I had made. And the curator said, go and tell him it's yours. And I did tell him. I said, that's my drawing. And the boy looked at me with an expression of disbelief, which was shocking and a little crushing. He looked to my curator for validation, and she said, yes, it's him, it's his work. And then he looked back at me, and I just saw him smile. And at that moment, I realized that is why I produce the work that I do, and my place is valid. I may have gone at this quick rise, on a TV program and fought hard to be recognized as someone who made worthy art. But do you know what? That boy thought that my art was worthy, and it touched him in a way, not only the work, but seeing himself in that position through me was worth
So
it.
inspiration.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was
And
worth
what
everything.
what a fantastic way to end this panel of inspiration. Thank you so much, Curtis.
Thank
Omenaa,
you.
Thank
Boris.
you for having me.
And
Thank you very
please
much.
go and see the exhibition in the Art Zone here at Impact to see what the new canon could look like. Thank you very much.
Thank you.